Hi everyone, you're listening to episode 12 of the Gate 2 podcast.
Not so bad, is it?
And Dhanda, lovely skill by him, good feet, moving the ball forward. He may even go on his own. He doesn't, he slips it out to Connor Roberts, who plays it back to Dhanda, and he hits the ball. And the keeper pushes it away. It's going to come back out. Fulton's toe pokes it into the goal, and it was with the outside of the foot. Oh, was that a back pass? It was. It's touched Andre Ayew, and it's off the line. There's a crowd of players, and Ayew this time gets a shot in that's off his marker and out for a corner. Comes to meet that one, knocks it forward. Palmer may get there. Palmer ahead of the keeper. He's won it for Swansea City. 2-0. He's taken a knock, and that is surely the winning goal for Steve Cooper's men.
Right, let's get straight into it then, boys. Start of the season.
Yeah, it's not been bad, is it?
Very much like last season, to be fair, except the weather's far worse.
Do you think Cooper is a start and end of season specialist?
He does appear to be, doesn't he? He's a bit weak in the middle. He's like a nice Victoria sponge. Strong at the top, strong at the bottom, a little bit soft in the middle. That's a fucking strange, that's a bake-off analogy to get us going, and I can tell I've been watching on TV.
I reckon you've had that stored for weeks.
Do you know what? That was off the cuff, which you know is believable because it was shit.
Easy on a Malbec, Gant. No, but mirroring what you said there, I think it's been a solid start. You can't argue with the start we've had. Is it 4 wins, 3 draws? I'm referring to my notes, and just the 1 loss at Huddersfield.
Oh, he's got notes.
Yeah,
He's got notes. Norris is keen to
prepared.
make an impression on his debut because he's got notes, and none of us have ever used notes.
I've got to use notes, but I can't remember it otherwise. But
15
it's
points,
only
8
one
games. Solid
Yeah,
start, isn't it?
yeah, it's only one loss at home against Huddersfield, and where we expected to pick up 3 points, but the points we picked up on our travels, you always take a point away. You can't argue with the start.
Dare I say it, the Huddersfield game as well. I think we had 20 minutes where we were poor, but I don't think we deserved to lose that game. I think we played particularly well, but we failed to finish a few good chances in that game. We should have taken at least a point as well. But I think unspectacular at the start, but steady.
It's been one of those. It's been one of those starts, right? Where you think, all right, fucking hell, it hasn't been a spectacular start until you look at the league table prior to Stoke and think, oh, we've got 3 points off second place. Here, how have we done that? I mean, if you take Reading out of the equation, we're absolutely, from nowhere bossing it, and the 7 points clear. We're pretty much, we are top of the league aside from Reading, anyway. So
obviously a few fixtures tonight we could drop into 4th, but every year I look at the Championship and think that we're not good enough to be fighting at the top end, and then within about 6 or 7 games, I remember how fucking shit teams are in the Championship. And I mean on the nicest way possible, but you look at the likes of Bournemouth and Watford, and I know they're doing all right, but I'd expect them to pick up more points and be a bit better off than what they are.
I think when you talk about teams like Bournemouth and Watford who've come down from the Premier League, there's always like a resettlement period.
Yeah.
Where you kind of drop into a new division and find your feet. So I expect them both to come strong. Months go on, to be honest. Yeah. Anyone any standout performers for you at the start, guys?
Got to be Bidwell, surely.
Again,
yeah. Continuing on from last season.
Yeah. He's been a different player, and since I'd say since lockdown, but certainly since you've gone to wing backs.
Yeah, I was going to say since the formation changing it, but I like the look of Manning as well. I was pleased we signed him.
No, I know. I thought that I felt a bit sorry for Manning last night because I thought he played really well, and then Bidwell came on, played 10 minutes, and got another assist.
Goal. Yeah. He was like the dog pissing up the lamppost when he came on. When he was like, "This is my fucking territory." Irish.
Yeah, but as you said, at the same time, these players are new. They probably haven't got a lot of game time under their belts. He came in, he played well. And Bidwell's got some company, he's got some opposition, he's got someone to fight for his place, and he knows that.
The other thing with Manning as well, he can play more than that one position.
Yeah,
The
probably
fact he
utility
looks,
player.
the fact he looks a cracking little player and he can give us options elsewhere.
And he can take free kicks.
Yeah,
Yeah,
take free kicks.
he won't, but he can.
He played in midfield as well previously. If anyone watched his interview on Swans TV, he was once a centre midfielder as well. So that, we're strong in our area, but if we ever find ourselves in the midst of an injury crisis, it's useful to have, isn't it?
I think.
Do you know what? Something I've massively noticed this season, right? And I'm going to eat my words a little bit on this one. Is and this is someone that I dug out all last season, and I've noticed a big difference this season, and that's Freddie Woodman. Now, his decision making in the box, he looks a lot more composed. His distribution from the back, instead of just
100%.
hoofing it constantly now, he's passing it to feet, he's rolling it out, he's starting counter attacks. It's something that it's very clear that he's worked on that, and I've noticed it big style.
He looks like his confidence levels are going up as well, doesn't he?
In terms of his distribution and playing out from the back, do you think it makes a difference to him having a back five, if you like, as opposed to a back four? Because when you plug them back with a back four, the centre halves usually part and leave that big huge gap in the middle for the holding midfielder to drop in, who is usually followed by a midfielder from the opposing team. Do you think having the three at the back and obviously the newer rule where you can start off in the box gives him that, a bit of an element of safety, a bit of a safety net to do it without fear of any mistakes? Like,
definitely. And the other thing is as well, right? Obviously, now against the four at the back, it's quite easy if they, like you said there, you split the centre backs, and you're either going to go to one or the other centre backs because your right and left backs generally tend to press a bit further up. Now, at that point, yes, you are vulnerable. Especially if you do have somebody on your holding midfielder, but when you've got your back three there, plus your holding midfielder is going to be floating somewhere ahead of that, and then your two wing backs. First of all, he's got more options, but additionally, the opposition is never going to press five men because they're totally leaving themselves vulnerable at the back. And the speed that we've shown that we can move the ball up the pitch, all that spacing behind, and then like last night, Jamal Lowe was chasing all the lost causes, all the balls in behind. So no team is ever going to press a back five. Maybe a four, they can do it, but a five, they're just leaving themselves too exposed. And it also gives them that safety net of options then, because they're not going to get pressed as hard.
Do you know what's vital to it all working well? And it was evident in the first half against Stoke yesterday. Like, if you asked me to sum up last season within, in under 5 words, I would say lacking tempo and imagination. And those were two of the big things that we saw yesterday.
Yeah, but that was my biggest complaint. I mean, when we spoke about doing the pod, and I think I wrote on the start of the season, and my biggest complaint was, for as well as we'd done and as steady as we'd been, we were nothing better than steady. Other than, Wickham first half, I thought we were still quite flat. Don't think we were particularly entertaining, and it looked like we would just edge every game. I'm not really sure where that performance came from last night.
Well, let's go on to the Stoke performance, because my pre-match prediction, I optimistically went for a 1-1 on my Super 6. And Alex, you touched on it earlier. If I was going to envisage a victory, it was going to be a scrappy kind of smash and grab. I don't know how much I'm haunted by the ghost of Stoke last season, where they came to us with, I can't remember if they were on 0 points or 0 victories at the time. It was definitely 0 victories. And Nathan Jones was under a lot of pressure when they came and beat us after we took an early lead. So I kind of think...
Stoke... Sorry.
So Sam Clucas turned into Messi for a game as well, the prick.
Yeah, well, he
twice
was,
a season.
Yeah, he was absent yesterday, so he'd probably
Yeah,
turned
I
over
know.
to watch Emmerdale after about 5 minutes, I reckon.
I just think, boys, for the first time in a while, I think there was genuine rotation in our play. There was constant runners off the ball. There was a better tempo to everything that we were doing. Our passing was crisp, and we looked like we went forward with a purpose. One of my, I try not to be negative, but one of my complaints has always been we look like we lack energy compared to other teams.
Yeah.
But yesterday, I thought they were outstanding for the first minute. I've got to stick to it because I've always said that over the course of a season, if you play well, you'll pick up results. And I'd rather see us play well and not win at times, knowing that you'd be entertained. And yesterday, when there was about 10 minutes left, Jeremy sat and thought, you know what, even if we don't win this, I've enjoyed every single minute that I've watched because the intent has been there throughout. And
I didn't enjoy the first 5 minutes because we kept passing it to the bloody advertising hoarding. After that, once they got the...
Yeah. I seen a tweet. But listen,
we'll come on to that later.
well, let's make no mistake. Stoke got a decent start. In terms of attempts, I think we were more direct yesterday. As Alex reiterated, we were moving off the ball, but we were more direct. We had 18 goal attempts yesterday. Stoke had 3. Yeah. Right? Freddie Woodman was just a
bystander.
Spectator. He was a spectator yesterday. So, you look at things. What do we do wrong and what do we do right? I just think there's plenty more energy. Dhanda was outstanding. First hour, really good. Go on now.
I think it's our most accomplished home performance under Cooper.
No,
the only thing that worries me, right? All them goal attempts, dominating performance. Stoke completed more passes than us.
Did they?
They did.
Norris, what was your how do you reflect on Jan Dhanda's performance? Because for me, he starts games, and I think it was the case last season as well. He starts a game so brightly, but tends to burn out long before the game is finished. Would you say that was the case yesterday, guys?
Yeah, yes. And when he arrived from Liverpool, scored in his debut with Sheffield United, I believe, wasn't it? So big things were expected. He's good on the ball. He can pick a pass. He moves quickly. And big things. But with Dhanda, as you said, he's so frustrating. It's as if 1 minute he's there and he's controlling things, the next minute he goes missing.
Yeah.
When it's not going his way. I think he's a momentum player.
But you know what I think happens quite often is I think the dynamic of the game changes.
Yeah,
he starts well, and we have to remember that he's an attacking midfielder. And, for those of us who play the game and especially played attacking midfield, you know what it's like as a forward player where you've had a cracking first half, there's naturally going to be a reaction from the opposition, whereby as a number 10, you're always going to be less effective in the second half because you're going to have to do your donkey work.
Yeah, I get that. But again, I think it's game time as well. He's coming in, he's doing the job. Next minute, he's on the fucking bench. Yeah. Cooper needs to start giving him.
He did it last year, didn't he? I can't remember. Was it Charlton he came in against? The last year?
Both games, and he scored in both games outside the box, home and away.
Yeah. I think it was Charlton he came in against last year at home. Aaron, correct me if I'm wrong. And he played really well, and we thought, that'll be Dhanda in for a couple of weeks now, and we didn't see him after it. So
I had a couple of tweets yesterday. I think the one thing I said is after about 30 minutes when we were texting the group, we said Dhanda's been excellent, and I said you probably won't see him for the next 60. Yeah. And then on Twitter, people are saying you probably won't see him for the next 3 months. And
I wonder.
I feel a bit sorry for him.
I wonder if, when we've had a good first half where he's been heavily involved like he was yesterday, I do wonder that if when the second half comes and for the first 10 to 20 minutes we're under pressure, I do wonder if having to do, having not so much of the ball then from the minutes 45 to about 60, I do wonder how much that disrupts his flow.
Yeah, I was going to say it's
and then he struggles then to get back into the game.
I think that's what you want to see from Dhanda. I think you want to see him doing over a longer period in a game. But you look at the way he played yesterday. For me, he's one of our most intelligent footballers. The space he takes between the lines. It sounds daft. He played in the sort of 10, or he played attacking midfield. But he gave us a bit of width as well, especially in the first half, exploiting the spaces between the sort of full back and the centre half. And he got us going. He picks good passes. He makes good runs. But like I said, I think
he's unpredictable, and it's what we
got
need,
quality.
especially against a team like Stoke, right? You know, the scruffy bastards. You know, you're going to get. They can be physical. When you've got someone running off the ball, picking passes, being creative, unlike Matt Grimes, then you know things are going to happen. But yeah, I'd like to see him have a run in the team. I'd be shocked if he doesn't start the next game. If he does, then fucking hell.
I think he's inconsistent within a game himself, but what he gives you, which our other midfielders don't really, apart from maybe Gibbs White, is he gives you that bit of flair and creativity and
imagination.
Imagination. And all right, it doesn't always come off, but the intent is always there to try and hurt teams. And we lack that at times, and he gives us that.
We need that. Otherwise, we're flat. You know, we need Dhanda on that pitch. We've lost Selena. You know, Gibbs White, unfortunately, he got a broken metatarsal for 3 months. Yeah. You know, he's looked lively, pick a pass, not scared to do something rather than pass it sideways or forwards. You know, he's looking to do something different.
Yeah, I think it's important for Dhanda as well. Sorry to interrupt, guys, but obviously we've got Casey Palmer in, and he can play in the sort of same role as well. But I don't know if you've seen the news coming out of Bristol City in the last 24 hours that Andres Weimann has done his ACL, and there's obviously a recall clause for Bristol City to call him back in January.
Going on to Casey Palmer, it was nice to see him get his first goal yesterday off a bench. Player we've been chasing for a while. Brought him in on deadline day. What's everyone's views on our deadline day this year?
Shocking, and not in a bad way. Like shocking as in, oh my God, we've done something.
I'm not a fan of deadline day. I'm not a fan of doing business on deadline day. I think, you know, whenever historically we've done our best business, we've always been prepared going into a window. Everything's been thought out. But I think as a deadline day, it was needed.
Do you know what?
We haven't been left short, have we?
No, it was
playing staff we needed, strengthen the squad. Always crying out for the big squad, going into the championship because you've got options. And at the moment, we've got options. We've even got players
absolutely
fighting for players' position, which is exactly what we need.
Well, we've obviously brought in 4. The only one we haven't seen yet is that Lato Boudia. But the other 3 players, thank you. It could be completely wrong, but the other 3
like French. Sounds like the French word for last, doesn't it? Look at the way Lato Boudia.
But every other signing's come in will compete for the first 11, and certainly all add something.
What is Lato Boudia? He's a right back, isn't he?
Right or centre?
Yeah, right or centre, I believe.
Yeah, it tells you something about Cooper's intentions going forward then regarding our formation, where he sort of brought in two full-backs, if you like, or wing-backs, because, you know, it's spoken about often in football that when you play the system we are currently playing, it will take it out on your wing-backs because they have to do so much running during any one game. So you do need to have backups. I mean, point in case with Man City when Pep came in and he started using wing backs, you know, they always had good quality backups to come in. So I think he's going to stick with the formation for a while. And
it also says something. We haven't really got any wingers.
Yeah, exactly. I mean,
so not much natural width.
I think Bennett on a free was a bigger surprise for me. I think that's the deal that's pleased me the most. I think he's the kind of, you know, no disrespect, he's the kind of wanker we need in our team. Like.
Yeah. Where did he come from?
Wolves.
Wolves.
Yeah,
Wolves. Game for them. What did he?
Yeah, he's over
Yeah, played
the
loads.
years, like he's played a fair bit from
They
but he's
needed
got age,
balance and bucks,
you
and
know,
he's 30.
what is he, like 29, 30?
30, yeah.
Good experience.
Thing is, it's a no-risk transfer, boys, that as well, because, like I said, it's a free transfer, and the only fee is payable if we sort of get promoted and it's performance related. Do you know what I mean? And you know, it's
good
one of those
voice
where
in the
you've already
dressing
made,
room.
yeah.
Do you know what
But
I
let's
mean?
face it, he's a captain on that field, isn't he?
Yeah, he is.
You watch him from his first game, he's come in and he's
Was
ordered
really
everyone around, he's boss people.
Did
everywhere.
anyone see his interview on Swans TV?
No.
He spoke very well. You could tell by listening to him that he was definitely going to be that kind of character in the dressing room, was older than some of the others, and was, you know, if anyone needed to be told in there, he's the kind of character who tell them. Do you know what I mean? So, and that's exactly what we need, I think.
I think he's a superb signing.
Well, it translates on the pitch. He's you can see already he's very solid, he's very reliable. And I was concerned on that front whenever we lost Mike van der Horn and we knew he was going. I was thinking, oh God, you know, he was always really steady and solid at the back, unshakable. You know, he never flapped. And Bennett is sort of, in these early signs, he's showing that those same characteristics. He's very cool, he's very calm, very collected. There's no flapping, and at the same time, he's got that no-nonsense approach as well. Not much gets by him.
Yeah.
Then I say, boys, that deadline day is added to a very good transfer window.
I think so, yeah. But let's talk about the elephant in the room. Roda, 11 million. Discuss.
Time will tell. I don't know. I think I was like most people when it was announced as 11 million. I was angry.
Please, I think I speak for every Swans fan when I say please for him on a personal level.
100%.
Fantastic. You know, the same sort of level of pride as as when Dan James joined United and started off really well there. But from the club's point of view, I think we've sold ourselves short a little bit. When you consider 11 million probably bought you an average a good Premier League player at the turn of the century. Do you know what I mean? It's only 4 million above what Man United paid for Andy Cole in '96.
You're looking at you're looking at Joe Rodon being worth less than Dan James, worth less than McBurney, and for me he was better and more prepared than those two.
Yeah, ability-wise, I do wonder if his recent injury record, and it can only 100%. Be recent because he's in the early stage of his career, has really helped Daniel Levy in a negotiating sense, whereby he's gone, look, we're willing to pay this. It's a risk on our part, given the injuries he's already accumulated in his career. Yeah. And the Swans have kind of hiked their skirt up a little bit and gone, oh, go on then.
I think, has anyone seen Winter's interview, Julian Winter's interview?
No.
So his point's quite poignant, and I think that's why I said time will tell whether it's good business or not. So Winter basically said, look, Rodon wanted to leave naturally. He didn't kick or make a fuss. He was completely utterly professional about it, but it's a great opportunity for him that we didn't want to get in his way. But for us to bolster the squad, we needed him gone. And we needed to get a deal done because we needed to get Bennett to the door, and to get Mann into the door, we needed to take a price. And all right, we know he was worth more than the 11 million, but had we not taken the 11 million, we'd have been stuck with a player who obviously had eyes elsewhere and would have been professional, would have given his all, but then we'd have been, short elsewhere, and not able to add where we needed to with signings that we really wanted to make as well. So he said, we feel his value is worth more, but in that moment we had to make a decision, and we felt the best thing to do was that 11 million allows us to bring in your Bennett, allows us to bring in your Mann in, and progress through the season. So
listen,
I think,
in terms of Joe Rodon here, right, there's two things to look at. All these fucking idiots on Twitter, right? I were 25, 35 million, 40 million. Doesn't work like that. Daniel Levy's, he's come in, he's had a look, he's risky. It's a big risk, right? We know that. They know that.
Birch will have known what price we'd have
100%. And Birch will have known what we needed.
Listen, Joe Rodon wants to move, okay? He's a big risk. 11 million pound. Yeah, okay. Yeah, it's fucking awful, In reality, looking at about 25 million for me personally, right?
Yeah.
25, I would have been pleased with. But it comes at a risk for Spurs as well. He's improving in the Premier League, okay? He's injured all the time. Let's be honest.
Oh, he's missed 3 months of each season, hasn't he?
Big potential, massive loss, but £11 million.
And
I can understand where they're coming from.
100%, like I said, you look at his move with complete and utter pride. You wish him nothing but the best. But, I hope he proves he's worth a lot more than 11 million. So I want him to go and have a good career for Spurs and Wales and learn from Mourinho.
Yeah. That's besides the argument.
It's great for Wales, but I've got this romantic sort of vision of the future that I won't let myself think about too much, whereby we get promoted, Sheffield United get relegated, Joe Rodon and Dan James struggle for games at their club, and we get the three of them in on loan for the season with options to buy him. We get the fucking band back together. How we should,
And Joe Allen's on his way back as well in the contract.
But yeah, there's a lot of things that got to go fucking right and wrong for that to happen. But
did anyone see Cooper's interview?
Sorry, but another thing to consider there with that Rodon transfer, right, is you have to remember that Trevor Birch just recently joined Spurs as well. And he knows our club's financial situation top to bottom. And I personally think as well, they can use that to their advantage, because as much as, he knew very recently what the club's financial situation was. And he's probably said to Daniel Levy, look, this is what they need. If you go in at that sort of mark, they'll pretty much accept it. And as much as the club could have dug its heels in, they would have just gone, all right, we'll walk away. And they had us by the bollocks to a degree. Yeah. And I reckon Birch would have had a part to play.
100%. And there's another element there. There's another element there, boys, as well, where we got caught out as well. It's like you said, you've got the Birch element. Daniel Levy's obviously a wily sort of operator. But the other fact is deadline day is coming at a really bad time for us, because it's come in the middle of an international window. So from Spurs' point of view, there's absolutely no rush to get that deal done, because he wasn't going to be available for a while anyway. So it meant they didn't have to force him through. He wasn't going to go straight into their squad. They could wait until the very last minute, which they did, knowing we would have to cave. And that's what they done. They waited and waited and waited until we caved.
Finishing up on Rodon, boys. When the transfer window started, his name would have been nowhere near the top of Jose Mourinho's shopping list, should we say. And I do wonder how much, they've sort of struggled to secure higher profile targets, especially because of the, the financial crisis around COVID-19. And, I do wonder at what point has Birch gone to Mourinho, hey, look, good young lad, the Swansea with a lot of potential. West Ham around the corner sniffing about. Get it done, you won't regret it. I wonder has Birch had more of an influence in that transfer than just, this is what they'll sell for, make a bid. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah, he's had a massive influence, Gant. Let's be honest. People are not looking at the facts here. Birch has gone there. Like Aaron reiterated, he knows our club inside out. He knows exactly who Joe Rodon and everything else, our financial situation. He's gone there, and they've done one on us. Let's be honest. But I wish him all the best. He wanted to move too, so good on him. I really hope it's a success.
I think if you forget the fee and you look at our transfer window objectively, if you look at the players we've brought in, look at the players we've lost, and ignore any fees, I think you'd be happy with the business that's been done. And hopefully that would be the last impression. I think the last thing to say on Rodon, boys, is did anyone see Cooper's interview the day after he left? He was questioned about the fee, and he basically batted off the fee and just said, look, he said the boy's come back from international duty and he's been absolutely class. He's knocked on my door and he said that, look, obviously if Spurs do make an offer that's accepted, it is a move I'm interested in. It's a move, that I would go take up with. But he said if the move doesn't go ahead for any reason, he said, I'll be more committed than ever. I'll work harder than ever, and I'll be delighted to still be part of the club. And Cooper, they couldn't speak highly enough. It probably speaks volumes of the boy as well, doesn't it?
Yeah. Listen, boys, normal window for us. We sell out fucking back four and buy a goalkeeper. Do you know what I mean? So, this is the most productive window we've had.
Yeah. I read a very interesting article on The Athletic about Joe Rodon, and it kind of gives a glimpse into his sort of mentality and his desire to become a professional football player. He was working hard to get into the Wales under 16s, I believe. Might have been the 18s, but and he received a letter through the door from the Welsh FA, and the letter confirmed that he hadn't made the squad. And the first thing that Joe Rodon did with that letter was take it to his bedroom and pin it to his door. and basically used it as motivation, which probably says, a lot about his mentality, and his kind of mentality he's going to need to make it at Spurs, I think. So best of luck to him, really.
Good luck to him.
Best of luck to him. So
he's got all the attributes to be a world-class player in my eyes. Not a good player. He's got all the attributes. Stay fit, get game time with Spurs.
That's it. Needs a bit of luck with injuries, and he'll kick on from there, I reckon.
Yeah,
and
100%.
Toby Alderweireld isn't going to be a Spurs for forever, so there's a space opening up for him eventually. So best of luck to him. Okay, project big picture. Since we've checked this on the agenda, it's been given a vote of no confidence as such. Not privy to the details of it myself, but I think you were.
Yeah, it's frustrating.
Put it right on the spot there, and I'm like the striker, and there's too pussy to take a penalty, and has handed it quickly to the midfielder. Like
the problem the biggest problem I've had with project big picture, because it will be readdressed. It's got a no, but it will come back and be discussed. There's a lot of good points. There's a lot of points which are good for the EFL. But I think the timing of it during COVID, it very much smacks of, like everyone says, a money grab. It's essentially we know English football needs restructuring. We know there's an unfairness and inequality with money. We know that EFL clubs at risk of going bust, not just because of COVID, because of the general setup. And we want to address all these points. But to address all these points, here's what we want in return. And what we want is the ultimate say in the running of English football.
Yeah, they wanted extra voting rights.
Yeah. So I don't know if you know the rule of 14 in the Premier League at the moment.
Go on.
So anything that passes in the Premier League, 20 clubs get an equal vote, and you need a majority of 14 to get a voting motion through. So they've effectively changed that to say, well, only 9 clubs will get a vote to begin with, and that's the 9 longest serving clubs, which is effectively your big top 6. I think it's Everton, Southampton, and one other.
West
Ham. I apologise to West Ham. And of those 9 teams, you need a majority of 6. So effectively, the big 6 could vote whatever they want through.
6. Yeah.
It also gives them the right to renege on laws, which means they can pass laws now for the good of the game, but those 6 have then got the powers to change those laws. So it's, there's a lot of things that you're uncomfortable with. They wanted to drop the Community Shield. I don't know if you've seen Gary Neville's point on this the other day. You can do the Community Shield at any point, like they do abroad. They do it midweek, and you can do it whenever you want. But ultimately, that's a competition that raises money for charity. So something doesn't sit quite right. And they wanted to scrap the Carabao Cup, or the EFL Cup, whatever it's going to be called when there's no sponsor. But it's quite clear, and obviously dropping the league from 20 to 18 as well in the Premier League. So what you're doing as a Premier League club is you're dropping 4 games a season for everybody. You drop in Carabao Cup games for everybody, and you drop in a Community Shield game for 2 clubs as well.
They've very much seen as an opportunity to deal with their fixture congestion and focus more on European competition.
Yeah, and that's the point. Is there's not one point is the intention there to reduce the fixtures because there's too many fixtures. It's reduce our fixtures. We can either shorten our season and go on more world tours, more financial gains, or we can increase European competitions. Now, UEFA have discussed previously about adding extra games in, an extra 4 games in, I believe it is, for all teams.
They did it, didn't they, a couple of years ago? If you cast your mind back to the early to mid-noughties, the Champions League, for a small period, went to a stage where we went through 2 group stages before the knockouts.
Yeah, it was 6 games and 6 games, wasn't it? And then to the quarters.
Mental.
And that's what it was when I grew up. So there's a lot of points which have got merit And there's a lot of points which support the Football League, but I think you're reducing the Premier League size, which I'm not very comfortable with that personally. You're increasing the revenue from 4% to 25%, but you're also stopping parachute payments. And I think the argument is that they say, look, because of parachute payments, you can come up to the Premiership and overspend. But if you're a Championship club and you come up and you know there's no parachute payments, and you've got these teams, spending 20 million, 30 million on players, and you can't go and offer somebody a 3-year contract, because if you go straight back down, you're knackered. You've got no safety net. So what you're effectively doing is putting, you've got 16 teams in the Premiership, and you're kind of closing off competition from the leagues below. Yeah. So what you're doing is you're saying we need fairer competition. We need to make sure below you can compete, but we want to make sure you can't compete at our level. And when it comes to things like parachute payments and the distribution of your revenue from the Premier League, I think it was, again, I'd seen quotes in anyway, and Gary Neville summed it up the other day, and he basically said, look, he said, you've got Crystal Palace who've been in the Premier League for a few years, and you've got their chairman criticising the fact that why should we give our revenues out? But you'd argue that Stoke had been in the Premier League for longer and contributed to that Premier League.
Yeah.
They are part of the reason the Premier League is what it is. And, Stoke,
exactly.
all of them.
Not just Stoke, ourselves.
Yeah, ourselves, exactly. You're kind of saying that now you're gone, you've done nothing to contribute, and we deserve. So I think it'll come back to the fore, but I think the biggest problem for me from minute one was it very much looked like a proposal that was set up to fail. And by that, I mean, look, we know there needs to be things addressed. We're going to give you a ludicrous proposal which you're never going to vote through. And when you don't give us what we want, we can then turn around and say, well, we tried. Look at this European competition we can create. And it's like a threat.
Yeah, it's very fucking manipulative, really.
Yeah.
I mean, listening to your explanation of it, Alan, and I have to say, your understanding of it is first class, and the way you've explained it, it comes across as very manipulative.
Yeah.
They've really, the wolf dressed in sheep's clothing, is that the saying?
Sounds like a complex older bollocks to me. I don't think it's ever going to work. When I said for the Premier clubs, isn't it? It's beyond. How's that going to benefit the Championship clubs?
Yeah,
really.
League One or the League Two.
It's not set up fundamentally to support them clubs.
It's the same point for Championship clubs as to why the Premier League clubs didn't agree a bailout for Championship clubs financially, because they are the ones who could threaten your Premier League clubs. So if you've got your lower-end Premier League clubs helping bail out Championship clubs, they're ultimately the ones who could take their place in a year. So they were happy to fund League One and League Two, and I think that's what comes back to, isn't it? Everyone will do what's right for them.
Yeah.
And yeah, it's a shame because, like you said, there's a lot of good and there's a lot of merit in some of the proposals, but ultimately it feels like there's good and merit in the proposals, so we've got a reason to grab that bit of extra power.
Just to weigh in on this as well, right? And this might be a little bit of tin hat conspiracy theorist in me, Eric, but the main two players in this project big picture were sort of Man United and Liverpool.
Yeah.
Now, the interesting thing is as well there is that they've both got American owners.
Yep.
American owners, like our own, don't understand the passion and the emotional investment that British fans make into their football clubs. They treat them very much as businesses where they can.
They're a franchise.
Yeah, absolutely.
They're a franchise.
Now, sort of, it was very obvious that this project, big picture, was an attempt at an absolute power grab by those clubs. And I think this is where my conspiracy theory comes in a little bit, is that I think for them it was going to be, right, we either get this or we're going to fuck off and create this European Super League. Now, the interesting point that I heard today was, because these rumblings now about this European Super League, they're getting louder and louder and louder and louder.
It's been on for a while.
Interestingly, today now, it's been announced that Josep Bartomeu, the president of Barcelona, who's just about to end his term, has been appointed by FIFA to join this committee for the European Super League. Now, that's for me, that's a big step by FIFA to say, look, we're going to ratify this and we're going to approve this to happen.
Well, I don't know if you've seen his interview, and his sort of leaving speech, he said that obviously blah blah blah, I'm going. But he said, look, there's big financial news for Barcelona, big financial opportunities, that we've given the green light for us to join the European Super League.
Yeah.
And I think ultimately, it'll come back to, for us, real football will always be your local clubs and your local communities.
Yeah.
But the people who ultimately run football, your powers that be, your money men, they don't look at football clubs. They don't look at communities. That's not their number one priority. Their number one priority is revenue, money.
Do
Money.
you know what though, boys?
What's good for us? What makes us richer? What gives us more money into our clubs?
Do you know what? Do you know when you got kind of like United and Liverpool kind of flexing their muscles and kind of making these threats? I kind of think like, go on then, off you fucking go.
Yeah, I put a tweet out the other night, said go on, do it, because it'll bite you in the arse.
Yeah, because I think the Premier League is a strong enough competition to flourish without them. Now, where I would worry for the rest of Europe is if Bayern Munich and Borussia Dortmund make the same move, right? The Bundesliga, I don't think, is a strong enough league to flourish without them.
Take Ajax from Holland.
Yeah, Ajax, PSV, same applies. Don't get me started on Scottish football without Rangers and Celtic. It's non-existent. So I think as watchers and consumers of the Premier League, we're in an advantaged position to say to Liverpool and Man United, well, go on and fuck off, because I'm more than happy to watch Everton versus Southampton. I'm more than happy to watch Leicester and Arsenal and Spurs. It's a league that's full of massive clubs with massive histories. So if Liverpool and Man United want to go.
And do you think all of Liverpool and Man United's plastic fan base are going to be travelling to Munich and then the next week travelling to Barcelona?
It's not going to happen. It's not going to happen.
Absolutely not. They can't leave the London Borough currently.
I don't know if you've seen. Have you seen that the proposals are not to ditch the Premier League. The proposals are to create an extra European competition. So effectively, what you'll do is we'll have our cake, but we'll eat it too. We'll still stay in the Premiership. We'll still enjoy the spoils, but we'll have this amazing competition extra.
Yeah, so
it's just to appeal to the Chinese. That's all they're trying to do, is get the Asian revenue. But so by creating this big grand league with all the star-studded, the Asians, right? And I'm not trying to sort of stereotype or anything here. Yes, they are. They're fanatical, and these superstars, they idolize them, and they know this. So by tapping into this team, this all-star league with all the world stars and stuff in it, it's appealing to the Asian league. Not the Asian league, the Asian audience and market. And then they know that these boys will spend big money to go all over the world watching these clubs. And that's all it's for.
It wouldn't be unheard of. Sorry.
You're looking to do a global £1 billion fucking franchise that's going to ruin our modern game.
Yeah.
Simple as that.
And it wouldn't be unheard of, and it wouldn't surprise anyone to see a European Super League played out in Shanghai.
No, absolutely.
Absolutely.
We all remember the fiasco of the 39th game.
Yeah.
And we know why that's there. I know they say it's a global game now, and the Premier League's a global competition. But ultimately, in the nicest way possible, to us it isn't. The English divisions for us, is what we watch, and it's our teams and our communities, and you try and take the best clubs in the country away from the fans. Away from the fans who go week in, week out, and for nothing more than money. And that's the main part. You can cover it anywhere.
Old Trafford, Anfield, in terms of the crowd it attracts every week, will still be propped up by middle-aged men or men in his 60s and 70s that were in those fucking stands propping up their teams before Premier League money ever came into it.
Good point. Absolutely.
And it's them, the ones you have to feel sorry for more than the younger generation, really. So
let's hope it falls flat.
If it did come around as well, right, I would hope that those fans that go and watch Man United and Liverpool and all that pick a local team and support the local team and boost them up with the numbers and the revenue and things like that. Like, I don't know, Man United fans, they could go and support Salford and try and boost them up.
I don't think Salford need it, do they? I think the
FC United of Manchester
or Barry's Phoenix Club would definitely need it.
Barry FC.
Oh, exactly. Yeah, something like that. I'd love to see some sort of
some rebellion,
boost in that way. But the thing is, right, even if Man United and Liverpool did fuck off, that vacuum would be filled by other clubs
Would,
because
yeah.
there's still a lot of wealth and a lot of might in the Premier League.
Yeah.
I genuinely think the Premier League would be absolutely fine without those two clubs.
Agreed.
Yeah, definitely, and I think it will fall flat in his face. But you know, let's not give it any more airtime. Don't shit.
Hey, yeah.
Well, on that note,
That's up that one.
We've discussed the start of the season, lads. But what was everyone's hopes going into it? Truthfully,
Right. You know, right. We've had the usual start. We've had the usual first international break, and then the usual fucking hiccup.
defeat.
Exactly. Right. So that's out the way. Now, what happened last season? Obviously, after that first international break, up until late in the
massively,
season,
didn't it?
we were just in wilderness for a very, very long time. We were just sort of like drawing here and there, you know, picking up the odd 3 points, 1-0 wins, and it wasn't particularly exciting. We were just sort of like steady eddies, a typical sort of mid-table club until that late resurgence, and Wayne Routledge being the wonderful man that he is. But this season now, if we're really, really going to give it the beans, then we need to, that wilderness period, we now need to be competitive in that wilderness period, because then late on, when we have the inevitable, resurgence, if we are there or thereabouts, obviously they're going to go for it. But in that wilderness period, get some real consistency, and that could be, the difference. Instead of just sneaking into the playoffs, that could potentially be the difference between sneaking out of the playoffs into the automatics. And you never know. You never know. But I do think we're a different outfit this season.
Yeah, I think we do look a year wiser. I know we've got a lot of young heads. We do look a year wiser in how
Definitely.
we play. I think we are one of a number of clubs that, if they perform well, should be looking at minimum playoffs. And I say that because at the start of the season, I said, look, I'd be quite happy for top half. I think we're going to be decimated again in the transfer window, and we weren't. We've done thoroughly impressive business. We've got competition in every area of the pitch now. I still think we lack a genuine striker. We'll have to see what Joker is, if he comes good or not. But he's probably our only leading real striker. But I think we've got some very good players, and in certain positions, there are players that I wouldn't swap for anyone else in the division.
And going on to our squad and strikers, what is different this season to last, obviously because of the delay in the start of the season, is we're far closer to the January window now than we would have been previously. So, the opportunity to strengthen our squad further comes quicker than it did last year. So, we'll see what happens. But I couldn't add anything to what Aaron and Alex have already said, to be honest.
Same year. Sorry, Aaron. Same year, as Aaron said, I wasn't expecting a great deal. We had that massive start last season, the top of the league, got win the Leeds and nabbed 3 points. So much optimism. And then bang, wallop. We went down to West Brom with Aaron and a few others, and fucking hell, it was as if we were a different side. But for me, Cooper just changed so many players. He rotated far too much. We've got a squad now where we can get some structure. I am hopeful of the playoffs. I am, but it's still early. We've got 3 big games coming up. I think we got Blackburn at home.
Yeah, that's what I was going to say. Blackburn home, Brentford away, and Norwich away. And that was going to be my point. Is I think that we've had a really good start. There's no denying it. We're in a really good position.
Leeds are fucked off. Yeah. They've gone up.
Yeah.
Brentford, another team they were. They've lost Ben Rama and boy got a Villa. I can't remember his name.
I think our fixtures so far have been pretty kind.
Ollie Watkins.
Yeah. That's the point to hold on to. Our fixtures have been kind to us, but
so we'll see. There's bigger tests to come in the next few weeks.
So as an average, guys, we're all kind of hopeful of a playoff position again, and anything above that will be a welcome surprise.
Oh, listen, 100%. I think we should be definitely aiming for the playoffs at a minimum. I don't think there's anyone in this league, like Reading, like fucking Barcelona at the minute, they probably doing what we done last year. You know, they're playing well. And they've got a bit of momentum. But as soon
Just
as
hope they remember they're Reading.
Yeah,
they will eventually. Yeah. But like I said, this is an open championship. We started well, which is vital. We need to kick on with 3 points on Saturday. I hope we don't bounce. You've got the bounce factor. Stick with the same team. Let's go again.
And that's the thing at Norwich you mentioned about, it's backing up our performances now at home. Last year we really struggled at home. So yesterday's performance, as we discussed, was so pleasing. But you want to go and see us back up that strong home performance with another. And dare I say, make it a bit of a fortress again. We were difficult to play against other Liberty. And, hopefully we can make that the case again. Go on,
Yeah, definitely.
I'd like to see a bit of a difference in terms of the mentality this season as well. And it sort of ties into what I previously said, is that sort of wilderness period that I alluded to there in my last point. Now, I personally put that down to resting on our laurels a little bit, because there's that old saying every season, it's a long old season, plenty of time. And I think if you adopt that mentality throughout the season, you're constantly thinking, it's miles away. And we're just sort of like, sort of treading water. And then it's like, oh shit, it's the end of the season, we've got to pick it up now. Whereas now, I would like to see that winning mentality where they go into every game. It doesn't matter who we're playing. And I want to see them sort of demonstrated on the pitch where they're saying, right, don't care who we're playing, the aim is to win. Win every single game. Yeah. And I'm sorry, if you haven't got that mentality, right? If you don't have that mentality where you go into every single game wanting to win, then you should not be a professional footballer.
I agree. I think that was my concern with our start of the season. I've always been the biggest Cooper fan, and my only criticism has been the style of play. And I think the start of the season, my fear is that we've started the season as though you're in the middle of a season where it's going, right, let's be steady, let's not lose games, and let's try and nick games, let's keep points ticking along. And I think at the start of the season, it felt like we were just like ticking along already. But that's also so refreshing about yesterday's performance and taking the game to someone and really forcing the issue. And I think that's what we want to see a lot more of. And I think fans in general, if we see performances like we did yesterday, results will come because of it. And when results don't come, it'll be an awful lot easier to take.
Norris.
Hello.
If I told you that Matt Grimes was Swansea's answer to Thiago Alcantara, what would you say back to me?
Probably couldn't repeat it on you too much, to be honest. But so we're moving on to Matty Grimes, are we?
Absolutely. That's why you're here, mate. We want an in-depth critique of our club captain.
I seem to be in a minority.
That's fine. When everyone watches his performances week in, week out, he's our club captain. Tread carefully, but some of these people who
don't tread carefully. Speak honestly.
For me, he's just way too predictable. I know his stats because he can pass the ball 500 times a match, 1-2s, and he doesn't offer us anything going forward. His set pieces are diabolical. They don't seem to improve. And this is, he's on the corners, he's on our free kicks. Imagine we had someone who could actually miss that first fucking man. He's so frustrating, right? But he's Mr. Reliable. But he looks tired to me. He's really looking tired.
Do you know what?
Is he at 93 games at the moment?
Yeah.
Oh, fucking hell. Give him a sit down for fucking 93 games.
That's not 93 games. That's 93 full 90 minutes as well.
I spent last season defending Matt Grimes, and I, to be honest, I am at a point where I think, I agree with you. Especially this season where we seem to have, we have more options in midfield, or better options in midfield. You know, I asked you yesterday during the match what your midfield three would be without Grimes, and I think you went Fulton, Palmer, and Smith. Is that correct?
Yes, correct. Yeah, it was.
And do you know what? No problems with that. I mean, when we can put a midfield three in of Fulton, Palmer, and Smith, I think there's no excuse for not resting Grimes.
And I think that would be my point with Grimes. I love Grimes.
Why?
I've been his biggest advocate.
Why?
I just think he's steady in there. I think he controls us.
What's steady?
I don't think he has poor.
Sorry.
Right.
You can pick up an average League 1 or 2 player who can do the same fucking job as Matt Grimes. What does he do so well?
Wins more tackles than anyone in the division.
Oh, come on.
Intercepts more passes than anyone. Right, look, stats are stats, right? And I'm not someone to turn around and go stats are the be all and end all, because they can be misleading. But I think he is very unsung. I don't think he's played well this season. I thought he played all right last season. He didn't play as well as he did under Potter. He had a better season under Potter than what he did under Cooper.
Yeah,
but I don't think he was superb under Potter. But one thing he was under Potter, he was a lot more aggressive going forward. And we were a lot more aggressive going forward. And I think that benefited him. And I think at the moment he's very safe. I get frustrated and I see people's frustration. But I think he does a lot of dirty work that goes unnoticed. I think he wins us a lot of ball which goes unnoticed, and I do think he's quite calming. But like I said, I think what I would say about Grimes is we've got competition now, and I think his recent performances have to improve if he's going to continue playing as much as he does. And there's no denying it. You can't turn around and say Grimes has been excellent this season, because he hasn't. But I still think if he's playing well, and if we can get him playing well, I still think he's our
agree there. All right.
One of our better players, but he's not at the moment. But
under Potter, he was half decent, right? I'll give him that. I wouldn't say he was excellent. I'll never class him in that category at all, right? His quality is fucking dreadful. I watched it enough week in, week out for me. But like you said, the work he does off the ball, I can see that, right? You know, he works hard, he gets his foot in, he gets booked every game, but you know, for me, he needs a rest.
He's played 90-odd league games in a row, full 90 minutes. So I don't know, denying, especially with the kind of pre-season we've had because of COVID disruptions, etc., that a rest is probably due. I think with Bennett coming in as well, you've got a natural vice-captain for me. Yeah. I think Fulton's performance doesn't help Grimes yesterday, because I thought Fulton's an excellent. Yeah, he's an excellent player as well. I know he's not the same role, but I think what you do is you can still have Fulton in there and allow sort of Smith to come in.
Can I quickly ask a question? I know we're a bit stuck for time. What's everyone's view? Why is Steve Cooper playing him 90 minutes every single fucking game of every single?
I tell you what, since we brought Fulton into the conversation, I'll put this question out there just to round up this topic before we move on. Do you think we have a case of two midfielders, Fulton and Grimes, where one is slightly overrated and the other is slightly underrated?
Yeah.
Yes.
Massively overrated.
Fulton doesn't get credit he deserves.
Oh.
There we are.
Fulton never doesn't impress me.
There we are. Right. Here's a link into our next topic then, because Jay Fulton's father, Steve Fulton, was a very hard player for Hearts in his day, like the tackle. And we put a question out on Twitter recently about our top 3 hard players that we've seen play for Swansea. We'll start with our guys before we get into our Twitter responses. Norris, over to you.
A couple of strange ones here. Obviously, going back into the 90s, you got Chopper Harris, or Mark Harris, a tough cookie at the back.
Did you see him play, you know?
Yes, I did.
Yeah. Go on, then. For those of us who didn't, give us...
Went shy of a tackle.
Was he centre-half, was he?
He was a centre-half, Chopper Harris, yeah. Chopper for a reason. He wouldn't shy a tackle. He's a fucking animal. Matthew Bound. I always thought Matthew Bound was a solid player. Again, didn't shirk a tackle. Centre-half, solid in the air. Elbows everywhere. You know, broken noses, all sorts.
You had a couple in that team, didn't you? You had Julian Alsop up top in that team as well. It was tasty.
And I tell you who was a fucking lunatic, boys. Remember this year, Rick Ben? He wasn't there long.
Yeah.
Overlooked this. Oh, lads,
Yeah.
I tell you what, he'd fucking take some fucking legs off on the pitch, and he didn't stop on the pitch. In Wine Street, he'd be fucking taking his belt off and beating the fuck out of everyone.
I
What
tell
a
you,
lunatic.
I tell you, someone
right
who's
art
probably
bastard.
someone who probably got unnoticed, judging by the Twitter responses, is Leon Knight.
Yeah,
And it was like a third Dan black belt in some sort of martial art,
but
didn't he?
that kind of never manifested itself on the pitch today.
No.
So,
I always wondered with Leon Knight whether he's just a gobshite or not.
yeah.
Oh, he's hard as fuck.
I don't know.
No, he's tough as fuck, honestly.
Who's your top three, eh?
I don't know.
Mate.
I don't even think I put anybody down because I was out on Twitter.
Well, I'll go. I went number 3. I went Matty Bound.
Oh, he's got order.
In that team of the last sort of late 90s, which is, where I was going sort of semi-regularly, he was kind of, not that I seen him scrapping as such, he just had that real hard aura of authority about him, do you know what I mean?
Just an hard bastard, look.
For me, he was our Julian Dix, do you know what I mean? Not a lot of hair on his head, sweet left foot, rifled in the penalties and took no messing from any strikers. In second for me was Andy Gurney, just because he was an absolute dog.
Yeah.
As brief as he wasn't with us really for a long time, was he?
And number one, I'm going to throw it. Oh, sorry, Grant, go on.
Number one for me was Ferry Border, and again, never really saw him scrapping, but he had that mentally unhinged look about him, didn't he? Do you know what I mean?
Psychotic.
And I'll always remember, I know I've referenced it on the podcast before, I remember the League Cup game at home to Cardiff, the first time we'd played him in a long time, the Yodi Gomez winner, and there was a break in play, and the stadium for the first time had kind of fallen silent, and Joe Ledley was fucking gobbing off on the pitch. I can't remember if it was to other players or to fans or whatever.
It was a throw-in, wasn't it?
Yeah, and I remember year in, because we were front row, I remember Border shouting something along the lines of, "Oi, Joe." And Joe Ledley eventually looked back at Ferry Border, and Ferry Border didn't say anything. He just gave him a fucking stare. And he looked like the fucking Hood from the Thunderbirds. That fucking bald head and the weird stare. And Joe Ledley was like a little puppy that just retreated into the corner. And I think he barely touched the ball for the rest of the game. So that would be mine. Alex, what would yours be?
I didn't put in Matty Bound. I didn't put in Julian Alsop purely because I was 7, 8 years old watching them. So as much as I can remember, you sort of judgment's a bit blurred at that age, isn't it? I went for Kevin Austin.
Yeah. Just
because he was just solid in everything he done. Gurney. I don't know if any of you went to the Kidderminster away game on Boxing Day in 2005 or 2004 Boxing Day.
Right. Did he get sent off, didn't he?
Yeah, I think it was 2-0 up at the time or 1-0 up at the time, and he just stuck his head in someone. He's an argument and not holding back. He's got up, he's planted the head straight on him. And I went for Ferry Border as well. I think, like you said, it's just that unhinged look, and he had that nasty streak.
Yeah.
And I know it spilled over. I know there was that incident against Doncaster. He got sent off at home for no reason whatsoever. The ball was 50 yards away and he stuck his head in someone.
Oh, fuck that. His head could go. I remember going over the top of the ball.
Yeah, Leeds.
Unbelievable.
He obviously had that challenge against Leeds back in League One in the 3-2 game, I think it was, in the end. And that was stinking. But there was other times in tackles where he'd be dirty, and you almost get a sense that players were a little bit intimidated because he would hurt you.
And do you know the other thing I liked about him?
On top of it.
The other thing I liked about him, for a player who come over to play in a League One side, he wasn't shy about talking up his ability. No. I love that about him.
I remember we signed him for something like 50 grand, and we had him on the
cheap.
Ridiculous. And when we bought him, he'd come from the top division in Holland, and Martin was saying that's a Premiership quality player here. And normally when you see transfers there, you think they might have a bit of ability, but are you being real? And then you look at him thinking, how are you playing in League One?
Yeah.
How are you playing in League One?
And he had eyes in the back of his head, Ferry Border, in all fairness.
He obviously done that. He had that injury against Birmingham, Norris. And sorry, mate, he had that injury against Birmingham, and obviously it was awful as it was. And I remember he came on, I think it was against Preston possibly, when he made his comeback after however many months. And he picked the ball up. Yeah, he did, but before that, he's picked the ball up 35 yards from goal and smacked it. It's literally grazed the post. And then he's still outstanding. He's just back. Like, it's his first 5 minutes of football.
What kind of feedback do we get from Twitter for the hardest bastards in Swansea history?
We had quite a few people weigh in, and we had a few former players as well. The recurring names over and over are Bodder, Kevin Austin. Where are we? Ashley Williams has been thrown in there. Carl Chapman has said Walter Boyd has to be up there with that left hook.
Yeah.
Gurney is a recurring name over and over and over again. Someone else put Gurney was an horrible bastard.
Yeah.
Obviously, one that was mentioned on that I never got to watch, but your stories about is Tommy Smith.
Yeah, that's cropped up a few times on there.
Ashley Williams had to be in there because he nearly killed Robin Van Persie, didn't he? So.
Oh, he was a tough fucker. Listen, Ashley Williams was a tough nut.
Street boys.
Yeah, absolutely.
Polaroids.
Lee Trundle jumped in and he nominated Kevin Austin in his time. And then Mickey Howard said, Boundy. Oh, no. I asked Matthew Bound who's he nominating. And Mickey Howard jumped in and said, no hard man has ever owned a pair of leather trousers. and Matthew Bound has jumped back in. They were the nuts in my Manchester days.
Well, what I love most about that, boys, is I'm still stuck in that 12 or 13-year-old mindset where I can't even look at a minor celebrity, never mind a local footballer. I know my brother will spot a footballer, and Aaron's the same. We'll just tag someone in it, and I used to get excited if Lee Trundle likes one of my tweets, and I've got to tell my wife about it. And as you two, it's like, boys, what are you thinking?
Yeah, that's all right. Maybe one day we'll get him on, and we can just dedicate an episode to watching you tremble and piss your pants with the semi on.
I'll be silent for the whole episode.
One other name that popped up a couple of times there, obviously before all of our times, but seems to get a bit of recognition, is Robbie James.
Yeah.
And Coughlin.
Yeah, he's on there. Simon Williams nominated him alongside Ferry Bodder and Ashley Williams.
It's mad, isn't it? For a guy who started watching the Swans in the mid to late 90s, there's so much history that has gone before my time.
Absolutely, that was what I was the exact point I was going to make now. Is I feel kind of bad. Is we start watching like the late 90s, don't we?
And it's good though, boys, because I think we've got a following on Twitter, and we've got a big spectrum of people that have watched. There's the older people that have watched them from perhaps the 60s, 70s onwards, right down to the younger crew and the Twitter elites. So it's good to have them all on board, like. You've got a mystery player for us now.
I got two.
Two?
So, yes, two mystery players, right? I'm going to give you clues. It's 3 clues, and we'll see who gets the most points. So if you guess it on my first clue, you get 3 points, 2 points on second clue, 1 point on third, and so on. See how many you get. I chucked this together within 5 minutes, so I don't know if it'll work.
One player at a time?
Yeah, 1 player at a time.
Right,
so player number 1, all current or ex-ones, right?
Okay.
So I started my playing career at Everton.
McLeod. Kevin McLeod.
Yes. Yeah, fair play.
Write these points down.
Yeah, so 3 points for Michael. I was going to go. The other 2 would have been... anyone know why he was transfer listed from Swans?
No.
All according to Wikipedia. Apparently for a breach of club's discipline and just being a reckless drunk.
There we go.
Standard for
just a scouser with a bit of Irish heritage.
What we'll do on the next one, right? We'll do it, but type your answers in, and then we'll see who guess it first, and then we'll see who guess it first at the end, right? So clue number 1. Started my career at FK Atlantis. You can check it in the chat notes.
How do I do that? Fucking come on.
You got it?
Gant, yes. Lockdown quiz champion, isn't he?
Yeah, just waiting for an answer from Norris. You've got one from Michael and Aaron.
No idea.
No idea. All right, we'll move to the next one.
Absolutely no idea.
I scored the winning goal to help the Swans lift the Football League trophy. Mike's already got it, so
Oh, did I get it right?
yeah.
Fucking
what I should have.
Look at the football brains on me.
Oh, Aaron's gone. Who scored the opener?
Oh, for fuck's sake.
In Fenway.
Yeah, I was going to do the last one. I was going to do as I've ranked as the strongest footballer in several editions of FIFA. But Norris has added it was Akinfenwa. Boys, if anybody read the notes on the right hand side of your screen, Michael sent the answer to everyone.
Oh, well,
and then I said, "You're right."
What can I say?
Yeah, Akinfenwa.
I have an absolute useless knowledge of.
Fair play, Mike.
Yes.
That is it is useless knowledge because you've had Kevin McLeod from Everton, and you've had Akinfenwa from FK Atlantis.
Yeah.
Never got. Well, I think guess.
Or something next time.
Yeah. I knew he'd played in a few like weird places. Akinfenwa.
Did he play like something like Lithuania, something like that?
Yeah, Lithuania was FK Atlantis. I think it was something to do with like his stepbrothers or agents was friends with whoever anyway. Does anyone know we joined from FK Atlantis?
Was it Barry United?
Barry Town.
Yeah.
Barry Town.
Mad.
Amazing thing, mate. Obviously a cult hero us and then cult hero everywhere now.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
Oh, beast mode on.
Good player, still doing it.
Thanks for tuning in to another lockdown episode of the Gate 2 podcast. Big shout out to Martin Norris for a strong debut. Unfortunately, Clarky couldn't join us this month. If anyone wants to give Norris a shout out or a follow or some abuse for his Matt Grimes opinions, then you can find his name in our Twitter bio. Take care and see you all again.